Welcome back for our final game of the day. We do have G2 and Wild, and as we mentioned, it is do or die for both these teams. Whoever loses is out, and we'll have a look at the settings again to confirm what is going on with these teams. Now, as you can see, we of course have Wild all the way down in 9th, and we have G2 currently sitting at 7th spot. So we're looking at a regulation win from both these teams to make sure that they are still in that running, but there actually is a scenario as well that as soon as this gets to overtime, that means that Wild have unfortunately lost their top 6, but the only thing they can do is still take down G2 with them. What's going on here? Yeah.
You know, Anne, we wanted to celebrate your last day a little bit, so we brought you something special.
It's like passing.
I don't know if we can really show it off.
What is
camera
it?
number 3. Let's make sure it doesn't fall.
Okay, it says EU, Desk, the Fast, the Fresh, and the Fabian. I love that. That's very good.
We just wanted to make your last play day
really
here.
Nice.
Yeah, we just wanted to make it something special. Oh, lick your fingers. Come on. Do it on camera. Camera 3, look at Jack. Oh, yeah, this is going to be lovely. Oh.
Okay, I'm not gonna...
Oh, yeah. All right.
Well, give the viewers what they want, I guess.
Yeah, that's definitely what the viewers want.
That's some nice cake.
Yeah, that is really sweet. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. I will say, I was slightly concerned when you two just started walking off, and I was like, I guess I'll just do this by myself here today on my very
We tried to fake an argument, but you were so zoned in on what was going to go on, you missed it completely.
Well, I heard you two talking. I was like, this happens more often.
We were
you
arguing,
have this romance going on. Sometimes you two love each other, hug each other, and then sometimes it's just literal arguments.
Yeah. No, we were arguing which team to introduce. We thought you were going to like, why are they arguing? And then Jack's like, oh, I'm just going to walk off set. I'm like,
yeah.
Jack, where are you going?
Trying to give a real surprise factor.
I also told production, like, hey, the guys just walked off. We might need to extend the timer here. But they're like, yeah, it's fine. So I was like, okay. I did steal your point about G2 being taken down with Wild
done that.
in case they win an overtime.
We bring you a cake and you steal my points? That's such a classic, yeah.
I'm sorry, very unfortunate. Once again, I really appreciate this. It's very sweet. But let's get into the siege, of course, that we have, because we said it's do or die for both teams. They really need to look at a win here, and we'll start talking about Wild first, because Wild are coming in at 9th spot. They lost to Into the Breach yesterday. It wasn't looking good. They were very slow on attack.
Do you know, Fabian?
Go on.
The last time we shit-talked Wild in a pre-game, they won. So we're going to shit-talk them some more. They were atrocious yesterday.
Yeah, they were terrible. They don't know how to play the game. At this point, Freshbean and friends would probably play better. We're going to keep going like this, so they play well today.
Yeah, who needs to improve? Packball needs to improve, Kanto needs to improve, Lolo needs to improve, Nello needs to improve.
And Tab needs to stop baiting.
Yeah. Especially Lolo, though. Lolo had a big reputation coming into EU League, and he's not yet hit the ground running. I want to see something from him.
Yeah, it's something with those Italians, you know? We picked them up one left, right, and center. G2 picks up Gemini, doesn't perform well either. It's something with the Italians. I don't know what they have in their water there, but it doesn't seem to be good. Pasta in the water. Yeah, that must be it.
I will say, these are some very strong and harsh words too.
We're manifesting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as you said the last time, we're
changing it around. Like, our negativity is actually meant to be positive encouragement, and we believe in them. Well, actually, no, we don't believe in them. There we go.
Well, I mean, it's up to them to prove us different, right? I mean, I guess the same story kind of goes for G2 at the moment, because when we're looking at their performance so far, I think especially their fans would like to know what on earth is going on with their team.
I mean, from G2, you expect the best players. And if you look at their EPS, which stands for expected player score, anything below 100 is not good. Virtue is below 100, Doki's below 100, Benja is below 100, and Uno and Alamau are just above it. And I think for G2, this is well below their standards this season. To be honest, is well below their standards as well. You
know, Benja Master should probably change his nickname to Benja Troller, because he's keeping on trolling that team. No, he's having a rough stage, and it just seems that there's something disconnected within that team, because when I worked with them, they at least knew how to play somewhat basics together and how to play with each other's team. These days, it genuinely looks like there's 5 solo queuers that have all muted themselves in TeamSpeak because they're pissed off at their friends, and they just want a solo queue for the rest of the night. That's what it looks like, because they rely only on individual gun skill, and they have very little strategical depth to it. And I don't know what the staff is doing in this involvement, because there's something that's just, why are you guys not standing up? Like, how are you guys not standing up to the team? I know they're hard to work with, but you need to put down your foot, because they're not playing Siege. I don't know, Age of Empires 4 maybe that they did when I was there, that's like all they did. Maybe that's what they're back to, I have no idea. Then maybe they don't even prac anymore, but something is wrong.
That sounds like a really difficult time for these players. And of course, with the position they're currently in, it's not looking all too good. I think you have a clip as well to display what has been going wrong for them.
Yeah, it's going to be round 1 from yesterday, and I think it really set the scene when they played on Oregon yesterday. Doki gets handed, literally, it's Christmas for him. He gets handed a gift, a 5v3, and then G2, for some reason, with a minute 22 left on the clock, decides to try an attack that is a big element of surprise that, realistically, you can only ever do this attack if the defenders don't know it's coming. Well, what gives great information on attackers? Fenrir. They all drop into Fenrir's and they all die within 10 seconds. It's a really silly play to make when you're 5v3 up and you can just play a numbers advantage out onto the hardest site. And I honestly think as soon as they lost that, the heads were gone.
Yeah, I don't disagree, because knowing how they work, that their heads were probably gone at that point. And then we look at, well, we don't have a clip for it, but if we compare this to the round next they attacked basement, they were in a 4 versus 5 with all of the Wolves players down in the basement, and that's when they start to use utility. So it's like, in the first round, they're looking to surprise their enemy, but the enemy is already down in manpower. That's when you need to use your utility, pick apart the last few guys that are alive. But when you then need the surprise element, that's when you choose to go for the least surprising thing, which is, well, throwing your flashbangs, using your... How are you surprised that the execute is coming down when everything is popping off around you? You're not. It seems to be a complete misread of any win condition whatsoever. I expect more, be better.
So G2 are currently in a better position than WYLDE because they're currently in 7th. However, something we haven't mentioned yet is this is G2's last game. Their last chance to get points. After this, it is out of their hands.
Yeah, so we said that the 10-11 point mark is what we're looking at. WYLDE and G2 and VP, the current bottom 3, all play each other either today, obviously the game that's going to happen, or the next play day. This is G2's last game. Now, currently, Fnatic are sat on 11 points and ENCE are sat on 10 points, which means G2 can basically overtake 2 teams, and WYLDE can only actually overtake ENCE should ENCE lose. It's completely out of WYLDE's hands. However, if any team is going to have success, it will be against the other bottom 3 teams. So, G2, WYLDE fans, your teams can still pull themselves out of it, but they have to win today in regulation.
I mean, G2 basically needs a 7-0 to even get a chance to overtake Fnatic, right?
Yeah.
Like, because it's just almost impossible for them. 3 points is all that matters today. They need to show that they're a better team than WYLDE, because WYLDE have not lived up to... Well, they kind of lived up to our expectations, but they haven't overreached them, that's for sure. They just need to be able to beat them. And if they can't, they don't deserve to be in the top 6.
An important matchup. We need a map, of course, to see where this is going to be taking place. We've had 3 different maps today. We're adding a 4th different map to that as well. We'll be heading to Cafe.
Yeah, so I think WYLDE have quite a shallow map pool.
Yeah.
We've seen that with multiple clubhouses, multiple cafes at this point. They've not looked particularly impressive on Cafe, and G2, they absolutely love the map.
They absolutely love it. But if you look at the bans, look at what WYLDE banned the last 2 maps. It's Skyscraper and Consulate. Do you want to give G2 those 2 maps and defense start? They didn't have a choice. They've been completely outbanned here. It's just looking one step after another looks worse and worse for them. The map ban definitely didn't put me in believing in them.
That's tough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very difficult. It's a very stressful game, I'd imagine, from these players as well. The players are ready, so we'll bring back our casters in as well for one more time today. We welcome Hab and Fluke for this do-or-die game. Who do we think still has a chance after this?
You and I casted WYLDE when they played this the other day, and that tragic grenade happened. So let's see if they can...
Oh,
you remember that. You didn't get to do that.
No, Emmy.
Nah.
Yeah, I think G2 will take it.
Wow, that was a very short but sweet answer. I feel like everyone's catching strays left, right, and center. But as you mentioned, it is do or die. It is so important for both these teams. So please take us to Cafe for G2 and WYLDE.
Thank you very much, and we will find ourselves here on the final game of the day, throwing ourselves to Dostoyevsky.
Now, my big question is going to be, is this going to be as a expanded map as the other games that we have seen today? Because we've seen quite a lot of rounds today. Games that could have been blowouts turned out to become maximum OT. Just how quick the rounds went, didn't really feel that way, but we still ended up there. And usually when you look at WYLDE and their current performance and you would be seeing that they're up against G2, you'd be like, oh, well, that might be short work. However, G2 themselves, they have not been in the best of forms either. So, well, G2, you have the opportunity to stay in the fight, but that will also end your fight because this is your last game that you'll play.
I was just looking there quickly back across the UL to get a quick scan. There's been an overtime pretty much every play day, right? However, there wasn't one yesterday. In fact, it was a very quick day, 7-2, 7-2, 7-1, 7-5. So they're just making up for yesterday. SNA's got lucky. Or unlucky. Depends if you want to...
Usually they have the 45-round game.
Usually
right?
they're the ones. They've sort of passed the mantle onto us. And
Oh, so do we need to say, we're going all the way?
we're going all the way. Apparently, I guess if you just say it 100 times, it's like Beetlejuice. If you say it enough, Tim appears.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if
It's
you
like
say...
interesting, and then Milosh appears.
Yeah, if you say interesting 3 times into a mirror, Milosh appears. And he's angry at you. You say laser gates 3 times into a mirror, Ace appears. How do I get you to appear?
Oh, that's a difficult one.
I don't know if anything. It's
I'm
like
just trying to think of something.
you don't have a catchphrase. You need a catchphrase.
I need a catchphrase. Okay, we'll workshop a catchphrase for the rest of the year.
If I say oysters 3 times, Parker
You
appears.
know, Parker shows up. What's for Carter? Is it yapping?
Yeah, bro's yapping for Carter. Yeah. That might also get Janiro though. So that's
10 seconds left.
it gets one of
Yeah,
our
that's true.
Gen Z talent. It's like an open
5
net.
seconds left before insertion.
For Janiro, we can just say TikTok songs.
Easier Observer has said Milsim gets you, but this is as far away from a Milsim as possible. Benja, as we get our way in, the bans removal of, Fenrir, pretty standard, get them out of this. The play against the ground floor is probably where the biggest impact for Kaid and the Thatcher will find itself settle in, and then the Ying, it's just a consistent. She's an operator who, and talking of Parker and summoning him, did make the point when he was casting a Penguin the other day of when do we think a Ying nerf will come through? Because her ban rate across all the regions is exceptionally high.
I don't know. I mean, we've seen the roadmap, and some operators are already planned out for the coming months. So the research and development team of Team Rainbow have their hands quite full. So not quite sure when Ying's going to be on next.
Bit of an outdoors excursion, doesn't net itself a reward as of yet. They've got an attempt on a plant that's instantly shut down there by Virtue. Nello tried to swing in. Did they just not know? The Virtue was there playing the cocktail lounge. He's rotated himself towards the hatch. The kit's now cold. Packball does find Uno, the Sense, making their way across the mid floor. Now the rotate's gone away from them, but the flat ground hasn't. Benja tears a head off from the opposite end of the map itself. Alamar with the C4 goes fishing, nets himself a Kanto. And 3 versus 2 with 1:30. They went for a sort of stealthy approach towards the top floor, but the only thing that's been netted is a bit of a bloodbath.
2 and 3. There's Lolo. Oh, sees it ahead there, not able to respond. They're quite far removed from one another. The diffuser, of course, cold on the ground. However, there's so much time left, and if they misses the head again there, Tab is going to find himself into a gunfight on the pillars. Is going to go left and right. Will he find the person on the opposite side? Not as of yet. Stays alive, rotates away. Lolo will go down in the meantime, though, and that means it's only up to Tab now. And as he's reloading that long LMG, someone just walks by him, but he's still not done reloading. He was just hoping that he could fix it in time.
Takes a while.
Takes a while. It's like 7 seconds.
But when you are the one reloading that LMG, it is the longest experience. This is the list of longest experiences in Rainbow Six Siege. Goyo canister, just waiting for that to end burning. That's a long one. Sitting on a Dockerby call as a dead player, waiting to get cams back. That's a long one. Reloading an LMG, 30 seconds of a round, it feels like.
I made like the comparison, of course, because with the grip, the angled grip, you have like quicker reload times and stuff like that. I'm not actually sure if you can put it on the Finka LMG. I think you can, but it takes up like a huge amount. So especially for LMGs, those reloads become so much quicker.
They should make an operator that's like a magazine feeder. Like they feed the bullets into someone's gun. You know, like old Chanka used to have that turret way back
5
when.
seconds left.
What? Sorry? They, like feeding someone else? Feeding
Yeah,
your
feeding the
turret?
bullet.
Use a bomb.
Yeah. You know, like someone with like a belt, like an old MG emplacement, right?
Oh, I know what you mean. It's like you have the machine gunner and the
Yeah,
loader
yeah.
who's just keeping the belt up and making sure that
Imagine
they
that.
change the barrel in case it overheats.
Yeah, as a support player to an entry where LMG never has to reload.
Imagine that's your role, to just walk behind the LMG entry with the bullets in your hand.
That is a role and an operator for anyone out there who has a duo who is not good at FPS games.
It's like Thatcher Thermite, it's LMG mag holder.
LMG mag holder. We want to play some ranked, get on the mag hold operator. First round is G2s. Yeah, hop on that belt. First round is G2's. Tab wants to go for another quick strike here. Now they could try and play their way up the hatch inside. But Nello getting the drop onto Alamau and the drop onto a second. Nello, where have you been for some of these games? Shows up and strikes through two. Now they have a player caught on a little bit of white, but there's nobody else that's coming for the pinch on the top end as Virtue still got control, but Packball wants to go for the plant, caught from the bottom of Brown.
Bomb diffuser has been
C4 does stop the kit being confirmed. Uno wants to catch a player on the window. The second C4 doesn't net a success. Nello is still aggressively in reading, misses the first engagement. A minute 30, there's some pressure that might come through. Sprays too high. Great sense, but then gets it. Tab, actually. The cover from the hatch. Lolo gets the lockdown. Nello swinging in and getting 2 kills over 2 stories. Not the
The first one
most
was sneaky.
expected.
The first one was sneaky. He's just sitting there, seeing Alamar run away, probably didn't expect it. He didn't just decide to jump down and he just completely catches the Solace off guard. Had no idea that he was coming down there. And for the rest of the round, he just sat and reading, just waiting. In that way, we have 2 very different rounds.
Yeah, entirely. I mean, the thing is, the wild pace is still quite high in this second round. The fact that they're there, that aggressive, that's stacked up. Now, he's obviously missing one flash. I'm not sure if he used that to cover his motion in. But getting in that position and trusting that they can win those engagements, as I said, it's not usually the Nello role.
Sometimes, you know, you're just in trouble and you find yourself in those situations and you just gotta roll with it. And he definitely rolled with it there.
10 seconds to
Even
go.
if it's not his role, sometimes you just find yourself in those situations. It happens.
5 seconds left.
I love that razor bloom, by the way. As soon as you drop that hatch, it's just gonna pop off. It's gonna be a bit of a chaos factor. You're just gonna have to run through right into the side at that point.
Deploying shield.
Uno set himself up in the VIP bar, and well, this is where I said if there's a site that might suffer because of the change against the Kaid, it would be this one. But at the same time, the way that teams like to hold extensions, the way that they'll stretch themselves in, I mean, it used to be that was fully locked, then it was one wall, now apparently it's none, as they just have a clean watch to anyone that tries to take the drop on the hatch or march their way in. The awkward structure of it means they can't just run in. They also could try and get arrest of control if they remove the player inside VIP.
It's holding tight here, G2. Don't need to make any moves, don't need to take any fights as of yet. But just waiting whilst WYLDE is preparing themselves. And of course, because of the fact that we're down in the kitchen, verticality is going to be quite important. And operators like Ram really shine in that because you can just open up so freely, so safely over the top for a very long stretched area. Oh, it's Nello here, by the way, bullying the person that's going to be inside of VIP, being forced around. As Uno is taking himself in close into the corner, Lola will find Doki. And Nello's just continuing that bullying, just keeping that presence up. Teb on one side, actually the yokai drone's trying to stun the Monty out of his shield, but can Virtue, actually Benja, sorry, finds the one that was coming in from garage. But Uno's still aware of the fact that someone's on the window.
I mean, that's what they're trying to force him into here. And Teb's concerned someone's going to come out against him. It's just a back and forth of Nello being like, come on, take one step further forward. It's not an easy pick. There's Packball finally getting the end of it. The Echo drone gets caught as well. It wasted a lot of time though, and Benja has moved into the territory. Stepped in behind the Monty. The Monty suddenly revealed it once again. He's waiting for the engagement, tucks a shield behind a shield and forces the Warden back out. But it's a great bout against time there from Benja.
Lolo lost his life. Benja's still out and about, putting up that pressure from the white stairs as Alamau will find Packball. But as long as Benja's able to stay alive on those white stairs, that's just basically cutting this in half. And Teb not feeling fully safe to commit here as he's the last man standing.
15 seconds left.
And with 15 seconds and the diffuser dropped inside, he needs to go for it, but the DMR Virtue waiting on the other side just locks it off for them. And G2 to get themselves another round.
I mean, there was a lot of chaos there. You could sort of see the stretching, the attempt to force out that player. Uno did well to waste as much time as he did, even though he eventually lost his life. It is a dangerous place to play, that position. You'll usually see a smoke there as well, the gun set to keep themselves locked in, and just the ability to buy time. The Echo offering support on the side of the Monty. I'm not entirely sure why Alamau stopped offering that support on that drone. Maybe there was the push coming elsewhere that they were concerned about. They didn't want to fully focus and suddenly find themselves swarmed by the remaining Wild players. Either way, they win it out in the end. Keep themselves a step ahead, but you're still sort of looking at this game and you know, you're curious about G2 and how their performance will change throughout it. As you said, they haven't been able to hit the highs that they can do. They were one of only 3 teams to focus themselves at both majors, at the live stages, and SI.
5 seconds left.
And then to suddenly find themselves towing the line of going down to last chance quals, it is a fall from grace.
I mean, it is so weird, right? Like, ever since they got into that 4th place and had to play their game against W7M, like, they just fell apart in a sign when they were playing that game. Albeit, you know, against the eventual world champions. Yeah, I mean, fair. But like this stage, they've just not been able to hit the same marks that they usually do. Oh,
Benja. Now he's close to it. They'll see the lines. Well, now they won't. They went for the break onto it. He's close enough and hoping he can get Nello, but he's not going to go for the jump out just yet. There's the pressure coming on towards the piano window. The Azami can play this pretty aggressive. Reload. Doesn't quite net the kill or the full damage on towards Kanto is still standing, but does keep one of his keepers up. There's a trade out. Doki getting one. That was a jump out. Gives Packbull a free phone. With Alamau getting Teb though, that has slightly fallen into their favor here. Benja, he's just causing problems in Christmas.
Oh, the jump out comes through. Doesn't find one, but lots of damage done to Nello. Didn't know there was a second person out there watching for him. That might have been a bit too greedy out there. Lola now knows there's someone in Pixel as well. Cannot move out whatsoever. Elamau with that Nitro Cell. There he goes. Almost gets himself taken out. Now he definitely knows he's not going to be able to move anymore. Sporty G2 was already moving in, however, to challenge that window. Knows it's going to be safe now as the flashbangs are coming through.
3 versus 3, but slight damage done across both sides. What you're looking at now is a bit of an awkward cross. Wallo's got himself towards white window. Too late to get the strike onto anyone. They've pushed the players back, but with one into freezer, Virtue watching towards the balcony on the back end. There's not really anything that G2 doesn't have a keen eye and close to across angle on. They can generally get 2 guns.
Attackers recovered the bomb.
Highlighted anywhere swiftly. So how is Wild going to try and pocket any of this control? The pop through, just the burn on the gate itself, as Lolo might try and find the first lineup in a fight towards the back end. He's not entirely sure where it's going to come from, though.
So just been aware of every single angle it could pop up from. And to not get complacent, as soon as you check it, someone could be popping up right afterwards. So you're gonna have to check and recheck and recheck and recheck all at the same time. But he finds himself into a position where he can maybe sneak a plant in. It's not been destroyed. There he goes indeed. Attempt is there.
Uno, he's trying to make sure there's no one to stop the cover. It does go down, but so do they. Nello, the sliver of health, the last one left, and he's on the vertical. Where is he going to stick this? Drops red. Rather than play this on the skylight so we can try and get the fight locked in on a flat ground, they're holding on. He's got to try and push past two players in Cigar. Cannot find them, G2. Played the retake brilliantly there.
Sometimes it's okay to let that diffuser go down. You saw the carefulness there, right? Like making sure there was no one covering for the actual push that he was trying to make. As soon as he confirmed it, got the kill. Of course, the plant went down at that moment in time, but it's a 3-on-1 and the last person being on the roof. And I think that specific angle where the diffuser was planted is quite difficult to hold that from the skylight efficiently. So I understand why you wanted to go for the drop at that moment in time. See if you can bring it in horizontally. If you drop later, like if you drop when they're already diffusing, like that's one guaranteed way to get you killed. So you just need to be in there and waste some time. But G2 read that perfectly, play that on contact together.
I mean, there as well, you know, he didn't throw himself into the chance of stopping the diffuser. He knew that there was progress being made by his teammates. He knew he didn't want to risk being caught out. It was just very, very well structured there from G2. Alamau, being able to get out of 90 was an important moment in that as well. If Lolo had been able to get the connection onto the head of that player, could have been a bit of a different story. G2, they put a bit of extra distance between them and Wild. But we've seen Wild have some convincing close attempts.
Of course, Wild that we had last year is very focused on the plant, especially on this map. It would be very often where they just, you know, rush plant after plant after plant. It's a completely different team now, build under a different philosophy as well. So we can't really expect that. Top floor will be most important to take here first. Find ourselves in the reading site. It's very often there that defense will be setting up some verticalities to stop the default plants from happening. Which means that as an attacker, you just need to take control of that area. You might even be able to use that.
Attackers have dropped the bomb diffuser.
Oh.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
Hello's game crashed. He got executed for
The
it.
attacker's bomb diffuser has been dropped.
Just wants the extra KD.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean,
Now it's going to be entry kill, pack ball onto Nello.
I like how that does confuse some forms as well. Some auto things are like, hey, it's official.
It's like, who got the opening kill?
Nello's PC did. Wild, what can you do with one body shorter? Well, at least get even. Kanto takes the fight through the hefty mining equipment. Teb almost gets caught out, but just gets the end of Alamau. Trying to find his way down White Stairs, and suddenly, Nello's PC sacrifice might be something that leads Wild to their second round.
Sometimes you just have to sacrifice your power for the greater good. But Doki swinging around. Oh, just too late there. Spotted the player. Leaning in from the opposite side now, hoping for the best, actually finds the kill onto Kanto. Back on a 3-on-3 they go. Lolo will drop as well by the hands of Uno, but there's someone right behind him. Actually, Teb on the doorway is going to be able to get some shots into Uno, but not quite the kill.
Oh, unfortunate slip moment there, Teb. He hasn't quite been able to find the form he found at the start of this season. Akbal, however, he's had some big moments building back in. He's able to get one more on the thread, but with that wall soft, with the kit elsewhere, they've got to see if they can try and piece the pairing back together. Virtue gets the execute from the top to bottom on towards Tab, leaving just Packball.
15 seconds remaining.
1 versus 2, no kit, 15 seconds, and they've got the vertical. You can assume this round is going to go entirely away from them. Will he get an exit for his trouble? It doesn't look like they even want to hand him that fight.
No, I mean, you know, they were quite spread out. One of them could have taken the fight on the diffuser there, or when he was challenging the other verticality before, but they both decided to just pull it in and keep it under lock and key there. As such, G2 find themselves in a 4-1 lead. Again, they have everything to play for here. Their normal stage, their regular stage, ends after this game. If they find a full 3 points, they'll be finding themselves tied with Wolves. Actually, no longer Wolves. Before it was Wolves. Just Fnatic in this case. And it would come down to round differential. Now, if G2 manage to, don't carry any -7, they need to patch that up as much as possible. As Fnatic find themselves on +5. So they basically need Fnatic to lose as badly as humanly possible against BDS, which I mean, is in the realm of possibilities. And then try and find as many rounds themselves as possible to confirm themselves.
Hopefully, we'll be back in soon. I'm just on a quick tech pause. Obviously, at the start of that round, unfortunately, we lost one of the Wild players' computers. But the fact that we can see them brings us a little bit of hope, and that we can see the lobby piecing together. I was going to say it there at the very beginning. We got a taste of it. I think that was Doki's background. And I am curious if you got a lot of the players' backgrounds. Do you think you could guess at least some of whose were whose?
No, I don't think I would be able to.
I think some might be obvious.
Some could be obvious.
A couple of Wolves players will have some anime ones.
Alamar will definitely have a picture of himself in there.
and like a stock trading graph. Like a holding.
The Italians might just have a nice bowl of, pasta or pizza.
Fabian, I think, has a picture of Fresh.
No, Fabian definitely has a picture of where the G2 players hand him the third hammer.
No, I think I'm trying to rebuild their relationship.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a picture of Fresh.
What do you think Fresh has?
Also
Dairy?
a picture of Fresh.
Oh.
No. It's like
dairy.
It's like Dairy, but with like a cross through his face. Like, there's no entry sign over Dairy. Des to... Wait.
I think Anne would have as the background.
Max Verstappen.
What do you think I have as a background?
Max Verstappen. Netherlands. All right. Looks like we are back in. And we're back chugging along. Now, this was obviously the replay of the previous round. They lost Nello early. They almost pulled it back. They had a man advantage, but then G2 responded very well. The rotations over the top. It seems like what Wild can't quite do is get a hold on more of a singular idea on a push. There's a lot of chaos that's coming through here. That G2, they've always been a team, whether they're playing at their strongest or their weakest, have a decent drive on it.
5 seconds left.
Last round of the half before we swap. G2 looking to make this quite dominant. Again, mentioning it, they're going to need the round differential for if they have 11 points or if they have 10 when they're up against Ents in that regard. Just want to make it the best they possibly can. And every round will count for them. Because after today, it's all out of their hands, whether or not they make it to playoffs. Or if they will have to go through the hell that is tier 3 and 4 that they usually face. I mean, they don't have the best of track records. Against teams like Jihu, for example, who, I mean, of course, parts of them have found themselves in EU. But just to set the tone.
From this point onwards, he's going to be the start on the lead through. Benja can't quite get all the ex-Kairos that are buried inside the break on the wall. The clever approach towards it. Kiba can at least go up. Doki buying himself as much time as possible. Really a huge amount of gadgetry dedicated towards protecting Bakery here. The Monty's going to try and make some of this approach more dangerous. And as more structure goes up, the gate goes back up, and I mean, give the man some balls. He's juggling every single wall and which way. He's almost playing a cookie clicker at this point. There's the smokes to buy them some time. The Capital bolts aren't quite able to connect with the player. It's a big usage of utility to buy this, but also look at the time that's gone away.
Minute 20, still so much utility, and well, WYLDE just have to make a call now. Do we continue pushing here? Is this a sunk cost fallacy kind of push that we're going for? Are they going to try and rotate around and see what they can get elsewhere? As Benja will find Tab, not the best of starts in such an important round. Lisa trying to fight back towards Benja, but I mean, he could just dig in deep, dig in safe afterwards.
"50 seconds. They've lost their lead-in body, and it looks like they're having to come up with an entire plan B at this point with barely any time to make it happen. They just threw everything, and everything wasn't good enough. WYLDE does find Virtue. The reverse vertical take against Packball connects there from Uno. He still has a smoke canister. He can take even more of this timeout from Nello. Where are you going to go at this point? Alamau, I mean, gets the hit with the Echo drone, gets the stun, swings around, gets a kill, and goes back to enjoying life. Kanto finds Alamau. Benja does go down. He's going to say it's a 2 versus 2, but it doesn't last very long. Nello, he's alone. Cannot quite get a connection. G2 just shutting it down.
Stokie just alt-tab every single time that he wins the round. Just back to desktop.
it fuels him on.
Might be that.
He looks at that pitch and he goes, I could be this cool.
Maybe that's what he's gunning for. Either way, 5-1. Pretty good half here for G2. Now they just need to lock it off on their attacks. And, I mean, I'm just going to pull up a statistic here. I mean, G2 were the only team whose attacks were better than their defenses. At least it was the case for a very, very long time in the league. Very quick on the L. He just doesn't want to watch the... I think watch the replay there. I don't know. That's what it is. So yeah, they should be feeling right at home here on the attack. They should be able to get 2 rounds off.
It's that sort of dying moment for them, isn't it, as well? Obviously, you know, this is their last game of the split. This is their last chance to sort of earn some needed points. It would get them to a position where they're then just sort of sat watching the final playday and hoping that results go into a favor where they can get a little bit of growth. The fact that the two teams, that if they get the full 3 points from this, they get themselves in that contention against Ants, who, if they lose, it's done. And then Fnatic as well. WYLDE, though. It's kind of a disappointment, this split. I think it's a chance to rebuild. There's obviously still the open quals, but it's a roster that just hasn't quite been able to get the threads together yet.
No, and that's the painful part, right? Because they've had some long tryouts to get themselves a roster that they were happy with, and just unable to find results as of yet. And going through open qualifiers, that's just the lottery. I mean, you know which team you're going up against, but they have way more information on you than you have on them. And the gun skill, believe it or not, is very similar between Tier 2, Tier 3, and Tier 1. It's mostly just fundamental strategy and synergy that sets them apart.
I'm reloading.
A long time for anybody to still be alive in this round. We've seen how that's sort of happened before on WYLDE stakes, but obviously G2, they're still cooking. They're still looking to try and get the pinch on a jump out that doesn't quite get netted. The C4 attempt here from Packball over the top towards the snow door. Doesn't hit anything, but that suddenly does. Kanto as well, getting Uno. Benja does bite through and find one, but I mean, they're trying to pull it back against the grain. Virtue gets the end of Kanto from the hop out. 2 versus 3. Benja, he's suffering the swing. Oh, the worst time to pull a gadget out, and Nello securing 2.
Actually, team damage that he took there as soon as he swung by. His teammate from the door that was firing some shots at him. Not the best attack to start things off here, so a quick reset will be in order before we head towards the next. But WYLDE, very much needed round they're able to put on the board right now. Still a lot of work to do if they want to get a victory out here. And of course, their journey is not over yet. They can still get 6 points. But I do think that at this point, there is no more way for them to actually qualify due to the fact they've already lost too many rounds. Let me see. Ends +7 will make, -7 will make -9. Wild can do the best here is +2. We'll put them on -17. And then a 7-0 is -10. So, Wild officially out. Breaking news.
10 seconds left.
That's the breaking news alarm.
Oh.
I'll be honest.
Officially out.
I don't think that's a big surprise for too many. They just struggle to piece together the play. There's potential on this roster, and there's potential that's been shown on the biggest stages, but with how we've seen some teams sort of flourish, a lot of it has come from pre-existing structure. You know, some of these rosters have had a bit more time to cook or a bit more time to sort of develop, and unfortunately for Wild's sake, it's just shown this split here. There's always still the open qualifications and how they can try and fight way through, but
it ain't looking too great for them. That's just the way that it currently is. But the thing is, you know, a week can change a lot, and if they're out now and they're just going to be fully focusing on the open qualifiers, they might actually fight themselves back through it and get themselves into closed. They're all very experienced players on the team, so they just need to gel. They just need that synergy, and then things will start connecting.
Doki
Scanning for devices and traps.
trying to find a first lead through here. They're building behind the chance of a shield, an operator that was brought quite a lot, but didn't really have a huge claim or progress previously. The external plays just trying to make things very uncomfortable here on Cafe for any approach that might get anywhere close. We saw how long pressure was played against Bakery, and it doesn't seem like that's something G2 want to eye up. Instead, Freezer, a heavy white take, get the hatch open. Kanto was dabbling with the idea of some pressure up Brown, but otherwise, they're just holding off now, keeping all of the Wild players at bay. Can they try and just muscle their way in?
It's a big question. You know, holding tight. Have they spotted Lolo though? The drone did just roll through, goes for a second jack. So I think they should be aware of his position now, but then next question, do they know about Kento? He's in a pretty aggressive swing right here, just waiting for anybody to put some pressure down onto Lolo from the window.
I mean, they're just smoking out at this point. Use the utility because look at the time. 30 seconds. Alamau gets rid of Teb, and they're able to at least get a first, but 30 seconds, and you're trying to still push your way in towards the site, towards the back-end breach. The pre-fire comes out for Kanto's favor. Benja had a rough idea, but wasn't quite solid on the intel. Suddenly, a 4 versus 4. They're on the hatch itself. The Monty charges in. Virtue gets Nello, the knockdown, and finished with the pistol. Uno shows what that operator is capable of, but Kanto caught on the rotate on red, leaving just Packbull alone. Virtue going for the plant. You're against the Monty that's covering it as well. It's impossible to get the angle unless they truly mess it up. And this is a very, very sticky situation to try to unpick here from the operators ahead of you and what G2 has.
Packbull finds one, goes for the second, just misses the shot onto Alamau there. Still very doable, but he needs to get himself in, but Alamau shuts him down beforehand. G2, it was very close before they managed to get that plan down. The defuse was dropped in the actual side up until 5 seconds left on the clock when they finally picked it up, started planting behind the cover of that Montaigne. They managed to find a round. They managed to find the point. And they managed to find themselves in a position where they can fight for the full 3, but more importantly, put some extra round differential on that board. That's what they need if they want to have a shot.
It's a long way now to pull this Cafe back in somewhere that they can get things set up. I'm not going to say an easy route to the finish here for G2. We've seen them pull this sort of deficit back. We've seen them lose this sort of deficit. But at the same time, them angling up for 3 points, the exhaustion and a bit of frustration from the side of Wild that you can see. Although then you cut to Pactful and he's grinning and having a great time. Just loves playing Siege, that man.
5 seconds left before insertion.
4 opportunities here for G2 to lock this off. Again, it would be a much-needed victory. Might be the difference maker in the end because they would tie up with Fnatic, who are facing BDS. Ends below them at that point by a single point would be going up against ITB. If either of those two teams will be taking a regulation loss, then G2 are through to the close qualifiers. So, you know, that's currently what we're looking at.
Now, there was always the assumption of how the pacey Solace could get. They have the read that they might be being droned out and pressured. The Claymore is at least on one of these coverages, but we could go exploring and see if it's on the other. Virtue, however, is wanting the rotate to come through. Watching towards the upward trajectory of the red stairs. The Solace depends how eager they are to make some motion. Also ready for the catch on a hop out. It's almost the bait of saying there's a Claymore on that window, not on this. Which one are you choosing? As they try and make some work happen, Kanto is not falling for it.
Be kind of silly if you fall for it as the Solace. You know, pushing aggressively through Cigar. Sees that the close angle is clear, and Pactful finds himself right underneath on the skylight. A drone confirmed that seconds before as well. Nitro will be tossed. It's going to be doing loads of damage to Uno, actually. And I think that we saw a rotate happening in the meantime, so they might be trying to see if they can get some vertical shots out on him.
Pactful was able to get himself, I'm going to say safer, not entirely safe, but it's Kanto that's trying to find this fight and hoping he's gone a bit untested. Benja suffers a bit, but there's the end of Pactful. There's the second Alamau. Sprayed through, and Kanto caught in a crossfire that really shouldn't have been able to pull a victim, and that says a lot about the fortunes of Wild. 50 seconds. Tab, Lolo, and Nello holding on as best as they can. As the plant starts to come across, Benja gets caught. The C4 will catch Uno. And with the player down and secured by Nello at 3 versus 3, a cold kit, okay. Doki does get a response, but the situational, the position of these remaining players, Nello doing his best to hold off the front line. Teb watching from underneath. Has 2 impacts, could try and stop at least one of those plant attempts if he's unchecked, if he's uncontested down here. Goes for the prone peak, doesn't quite have the connection. There's Doki caught, 10 seconds. And G2 looked sure to lock it out. Now it's just down to Teb to stop it, hitting the impacts. There's the vertical fight, cannot get a connection, recollects the kit, 2 seconds. Teb rotates his way back round towards the top white. They're just keeping this tight. Virtue did not want to give him the 1 versus 1. Just keep it out by his own utility. Gets a free one on it. Virtue versus Teb. Can Teb keep them in this? Sees the back of Virtue, doesn't get a full shot on.
Attackers need to
going in with the Deagle, trying to chase the end of the kill. Virtue ring around the rosies, has 2 flashes, could try and throw them round. There's the first. Teb goes wider still. There's his Virtue. LG2 find the end of a game, find the end of a long season. And if you thought G2 versus Wild at the start of the season, you probably would have predicted this result. I don't know if people would have predicted the same with how the season's gone for G2, but they found themselves there.
A very, very important win for G2 as they now find themselves on point, 1 ahead of ends and tied up to it was Fnatic. They both have very difficult games coming up. Next play day, if they lose, if one of them loses in regulation, G2 will still be able to make it through to playoffs. So again, they did everything they could here today to put the round differential on the board as well to help them. Will it be enough?
Well, that's all of the games today, but let's go to the desk for one more time.
Thank you very much, Hap and Fluke, for all the casting today, of course, as well. And yes, we just saw G2 secure 3 very important points because that means that WYLDE are out. And G2 keep themselves alive in that top 6 contention, but it is looking pretty dire for them.
It's looking very dire. I mean, it's not so much... Sure, they got the 3 points. They had quite a good plus-minus as well in rounds. I don't think that they played particularly well. I think that WYLDE played pretty poor. There was a lot of individual decisions still that is in G2's, and they're playing as a more individual-based team. And I think that WYLDE committed so many mistakes that G2 were allowed to punish for free that then shut the game down. WYLDE should probably have had a 3-3 half in attack. There are manpower advantages that they lost that you should never lose. And they still did it. So WYLDE will be scratching their heads thinking, what the hell did we do? And G2 can count themselves lucky because I think that the game could have been way closer than it is.
Yeah, I think, you know, G2 are always going to play these games against teams that have less mechanically skilled players. Yeah. That's the beauty about being G2, right? Is that, you know, even when you're not playing well, you will punish a team if you are just significantly better than them. That's exactly what happened today. G2 didn't have to be good, as it was, 7-2 victory. I thought they were good, particularly once they converted over onto their attacks. It really only looked like one winner. You can see Teb, obviously, with his head in his hands in that replay. And, you know, if we do just move on to WYLDE, other than that one game against Fnatic where they were, you know, cheesing it, it's been a really, really rough stage.
I don't even have additional words to that. What can I add?
I mean, I actually worry for them. They're going to drop down into the Open Qualifier playoffs where they have to play best of 3s. I don't think they've got a map pool to sustain best of 1s. So they can't win Clubhouse, they can't win Cafe, and they've tried multiple times.
And there's so many players in that bracket as well that are mechanically talented, and maybe with the confidence level that they're going to have after this season, they're not going to have any confidence. Why would they? They've been absolutely demolished. So the confidence coming out from these younger players with probably more mechanical talent, they might just run away with confidence problems instead. So there's nothing that's looking good for them right now. There's nothing I can praise them on. They did have good starts, but that's like of the round.
Yeah.
But other than that, they had no idea how to end them.
They've not looked competitive inside most games, to be honest. You know,
it's difficult.
This game and the Fnatic game aside.
And it's sad to see because we know WYLDE last stage, of course, they got so close to making it to majors 2 times. Now, of course, rebuilding that roster, they will have to rebuild a lot of things again in regards of going to that Open Qualifier playoffs, where hopefully they'll extend their map pool a little bit to be able to play those best of 3s. But of course, we're going to talk about G2, right? Because they won that game today. We saw a very important 1v1 at the end of the game from Virtue.
Yeah, so now we're looking at the position that G2 are in, right? And we're highlighting him.
That's my turn to take
over. It's your turn. I did not know that.
You're so keen to talk about G2 because you're in love with G2, Fabian, even though you're representing a different team now. Virtue's been a solid player, I would say, for G2. And he really came into his own. I think a bit of a quiet stage from him. A lot of people on G2, and I think Fabian will attest to this, believe Virtue actually has one of the best mechanical skills and best mechanical aims in G2. And again, we talked about when G2 are not hot, they still have the players that can turn up. They can still outgun a lot of people. Virtue, for example, has had an excellent game today. Big 1v1 there at the end, Dan.
Very important 1v1 indeed to secure those 3 points. And of course, we have a winner interview as well. We do get to speak to a player on the side of G2. I believe today we get to speak to Benja. Good evening. I think those 3 points probably very welcome after a few rough games.
Hello, hello.
Hi, I'm not sure if you heard my question. Good evening. I said congratulations first on the 3 points. I think they're very welcome, especially after a few rough games you've had.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to win, so it's good.
Hello, son.
Hello, Fabian. How are you?
What the fuck have you been doing this season, both as an individual? And why is the team so goddamn poor?
I don't know.
You know. Go on, tell us.
No, I mean,
and don't give me this bland answer like, we've not been doing that well, it happens. Give us some reality. The fans expect it, I know it. Just go on, please.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have the players to like definitely not be in the bottom 3 of the league, but I think like, you know, we've been struggling on the more like theoretically part and come together as a group. I mean, I heard you guys also said it a lot, like we don't look like a team, and I think like, you know, that's the thing right now.
With Cafe as a map, right? You guys came up against them. They've played it twice already. Was this the map you guys wanted them on?
I mean, yeah, we are a good Cafe team, so we want to play Cafe against everyone, I guess. So.
And you, of course, saw what WYLDE did on Cafe before. Now, you get the 3 points from this one. You keep yourselves alive in that contention for top 6. But considering this is your last game, you'll have to wait until the results for tomorrow, or sorry, Monday, to see if you actually make it. Is it an anxious feeling?
No, I don't think so. Like, no matter if ITB win or lose, then we still have to win games. Like, so it does depend if it's going to be in the open qualifier, or if it's going to be in playoffs. You know, we still need to improve, and you know, I don't care if we are going to get this spot through open or through the playoffs.
All right. Well, we know that you two, of course, have a very big fan base as well. Is there anything you want to say to the fans that have been supporting you through and through?
Not so much. Just like, you know, I guess sorry for our bad performance and my bad performance, but you know, we try to figure it out. Maybe it's gonna work, maybe not. Let's see.
We'll wait and find out. Well, thank you so much for being honest with us and the time as well. Hope you have a great rest of the evening, and we'll speak to you soon.